Hello friends, I welcome you all to my lecture video on multifarious economic activities of tribal women in India. The inclusion of tribal women can be discussed in terms of their demography, health, education and employment. The present lecture discusses about their social inclusion through economic pursuits. The tribal women constitute, as in any other social groups in India, about half of the total tribal population. However, the importance of women in the tribal society is more important than in any other social group in India because of the fact that tribal women more than women in any other social group works harder and the family economy and management depends on her. Discussing about the social inclusion, the World Bank defines the term as the process that improving the terms for individuals and groups to take part in the society. The process of social inclusion aims to improve poor and marginalized people to take advantage of the opportunities in equitable and non-discriminative modes. It ensures that people have a voice in decisions which affect their lives and that they enjoy equal access to markets, services in political, social and physical spheres. Tribal women as individuals, family and community are able to fully participate in the households, social cause and control their own destinies by improving the value chains of the natural resources and in their own surroundings. There have been a number of studies on the tribes, their culture and on the impact of the acculturation on tribal society. There have also been studies on the status of women relating to their socio-cultural problems, their economic rights, their health, education, participation in management, their access to employment, food, health, etc. But these issues have not been properly focused in relation to the tribal women and their economic pursuits. Economic activities of tribal women thus can be used to describe a series of positive actions that can be 1. To achieve equality access to goods and services. 2. To assist all individuals to participate in community and society. 3. To encourage the contributions of all persons to social and cultural life and challenge all forms of discrimination. In all societies, economic activities constitute the main source of survival and sustenance, and women have always been an important part of work and economy. However, because of difficult economic situations and lack of bargaining power, women workers all over the globe, especially in the developing world, have to accept low wages and work under debilitating conditions. Tribal women have the primary responsibility for food gathering from communal lands and forests. In most countries, livestock husbandry is also the responsibility of women. Despite women's enormous contribution to agricultural sector, much of domestic and agricultural work done by women is unpaid and more often overlooked. Women workers in the tribal areas tend to be consistently handicapped owing to the traditional division of labor. The lack of adequate data on women's role used for data collection do not reflect small scale or subsistence agriculture, ignoring important part of women's work in overall economic production. Though everyone is now recognizing the invisible economic contribution of women, methodological problems persist in measuring certain aspects of women's work. By far the most invisible of all work done by women in world over is domestic work, which continues to be unrecognized, unpaid, undervalued and largely ignored, despite of its crucial importance to society. It has been argued that if domestic work were to be quantified, it would contribute up to 40% of the gross national product in both the developing and the developed world. Women's work on an average of 60 hours a week around the house, yet social values are such that most women whose job description reads housewife as per seeing do not consider themselves economically active. The status of women in tribal economy is closely linked to the mode of production prevalent in that tribe. The economic activities vary from one society to the other depending on their exposure to the outside world. They have their set of economic activities and women contribute maximum of it directly and indirectly. The tribal women's economy that mainly centers around agriculture and forest depending on their natural environment, the main source of income for them therefore comes from food gathering, cultivation, handicraft and labor work. The objective of this lecture will be to find out the social inclusion and inclusive growth of women in tribal life, to analyze the economic pursuits of tribal women in India, to analyze the status they enjoy in their own setup, and to analyze the challenges faced by tribal women in India. This paper is the outcome of qualitative research in some major tribal pockets in India where secondary information through literature published by different authors and researchers has been used. Also, a reference has been explored from websites. Now we'll discuss on women and agricultural operations. The tribal women on the hilltops and slopes largely practice shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation is a traditional method governed by environmental conditions, rainfall, steep slopes, the thin population density and inaccessibility. The number of years of holding land for shifting cultivation and the number of years for which it is left fallow for regeneration of forest depend upon factors such as rainfall, pressure of population and condition of the fertility. As a general rule, tribals hold the land for shifting cultivation for 2 or 3 years and wait for 5 to 6 years for regeneration of forest cover. Significant use of the indigenous knowledge is seen in the various agricultural practices of the primitive tribal groups. They are very knowledgeable about the kind of crops that can be cultivated in each type of land. Their use of the local resources and even the food habits reflect their knowledge of their environment. To maintain the fertility of the soil, the tribal use cattle waste, ashes and compost every few years. They also change their cultivation from one traditional rice variety to that of another in order to conserve their traditional paddy varieties and to prevent the loss of fertility of the soil. They also use the traditionally followed method to prevent the yield from insects and spiders. The year-round agricultural activities for tribal women is found starts from different activities as per the available land. The categorization of land differs from tribe to tribe and also as per their exposure to the mainstream world with landholding system. Some major activities that can be noted like that of helping in felling of trees, debussing, watching the crops, harvesting, degrassing, weeding. When we analyze the work contribution and distribution system in terms of the participation in agricultural work, we find women works like in plowing, broadcasting seeds, staking and storing. They do not participate. This is particularly meant for women, as it is a taboo for them that in the tribal communities they don't do such activities in general term. Maybe there may be practices, but in general it is not there. Carrying seeds, transplanting, weeding, manuring and fertilizing, harvesting, threshing, winnowing and drying are generally done by women. Here we find a clear division of labor between tribal men and women in the agricultural sector. May there be exceptions. It is also important to note that without women's participation, the agricultural work gets hampered. The invisibility of women as the primary breadwinners is ignored in the tribal community. Now let us discuss women's contribution in non-agricultural operation. The evidence of diversity of women's expertise is strong in the field of technical changes in agriculture. It is associated with higher capital intensity, greater mechanization of production and post-harvest operations. The introduction of exogenous knowledge and the development of crops and livestock with diverse characteristics geared to the requirement of commercial commodity production. It has been accompanied by changes which women experience in unique ways. Women's knowledge has been the mainstay of the indigenous dairy industry. Animal husbandry as a non-agricultural work of a tribal woman is very much linked to her agricultural tasks. For agricultural purposes, generally the cattle are kept. Other animals like goat, pig, sheep, hen are kept for entertaining guests and also for sale. Every day, women used to clean the cattle shed. For fodder, they bring wild grasses, green leaves with them while coming back from the forest. To keep the insects away, she burns fire at the shed. Dogs are kept that helps their husband in hunting and also watching the crops. The chickens is mainly used for ritual purpose and slaughter for meat to entertain the guests and also for marketing purpose. Cows, she takes care for milk and milk products, and buffaloes for plowing the field. The narrow streams bring full of stones and boulders are not suitable for fishing. The tribal women are found to catch fish with the help of their sari in the rainy seasons. A portion of the catch is consumed at home and the rest is sold in the nearby market. However, that is not a stable source of income. The difficult economic situation and lack of bargaining power resulting from gender inequality, many tribal women have been forced to accept low wages and poor working conditions and thus have often become preferred workers. They have entered the workforce increasingly by choice as the family situation compels them to earn for and maintain their family. But they never prefer to go far away places or are engaged in such activities like wage earning on a regular basis. Whenever there is a wage earning opportunity, a tribal woman goes accompanied by her husband or friends to the workplace. The general preference is to work at a place close to their home so that it will not affect their home management. In the last few decades, there has been a marked difference in the standard of living of the tribal population with much emphasis on alternative livelihood patterns through different schemes and programs where women are the major participants. Not only it checks migration but also it is ensuring young girls and women out of the risk of trafficking. Now let me discuss about women and tapping the forest resources. Minor forest produce form a major source of income in the tribal community. Women and children are almost exclusively involved in collection of minor forest produce. Its storage, processing and marketing is done by generally women. Increased government control of forest has disturbed this tribal economy, adversely affecting their lives, particularly that of women. Appointing of agents from outside for collecting forest produce has not only affected their livelihood but has also made the work of women more difficult as the forest is going far away from her habitat. Generally it was 3 to 10 kilometers, now 10 to 20 kilometers away. Collection of fuelwood has become more difficult since it is less accessible and more time consuming. The time invested restricts them from other remunerative activities for the day they invest in fuelwood collection. Beauty is when you watch women collecting the dried part of the trees for fuelwood and here her close attachment to the tree is also observed. She collects that much required for her and not more than that. If she is collecting more than that, she will preserve it for the rainy season. Fueling and tending the household fires has always been women's work. So there have been much harder job of collecting and transporting the fuel. They have also acquired an intimate and practical knowledge of the suitability of different trees and species for cooking. They know which wood will burn slowly and or which wood will burn fast, which will smoke and which kindly or easily can burn without much of smoke. The wood must be dry and be able to give fire for a long time. They collect some extra for storage purpose also. In the tribal community, A special relationship exists between women and the family and trees. This fact has not been properly acknowledged in all earlier works. The agricultural products that they can collect from the cultivable land can manage to feed them for 3 to 5 months. The tribal family can manage only 3 to 5 months from the agricultural products. The government scheme that with providing her rice or fuel oil with subsidized rate is a bit of help for her that helping her to manage the kitchen. Mainly they depend on forest or forest based products to meet their daily need, in particular for the meal purpose. United Nations report found food rich in vitamins consumed in African countries are collected from forests. Trees are providing food in a number of direct or indirect ways. Tribal people use nearby forest as an important source of collecting honey and edible fungi. Tribal women are found engaged in collection of different food items from the forest throughout the year. However, they are not allowed to engage themselves in hunting. Tribal women spend major part of their life in going to the forest and collecting different items from forests. Mahua, a flower, she collects for liquor, while it is accompanied with tendu, seeds for fruits such as chironji, honey collection, mushroom collections give her a good amount in return. Pulses she uses as exchange products. Bushing sticks collected by women from forest are used in home as well as marketed throughout the year. Fruits women rely on the collection of non-timber forest products that include medicinal herbs, home-based processing foods, fibers, dyes and liquors. They also prepare different type of handicrafts for sale in the local market. Tribal women collect the fodder for domestic animals from the forest. The knowledge of tribal women in protecting her family from insects bite is also praiseworthy. Women use neem sticks and neem leaves to keep mosquitoes away by the setting of fire to it. She makes smoking of fish and meat on fire. In night, she lights the house with fire. By boiling leaves and bark, women prepare natural medicine to be used for minor diseases. Tribal women rely on forests to maintain many parts of their household. Women always do minor household repairs. Trees provide nearly all that they need. Pools for building shed, leaves for thatch, canes and stem and large grass for wattle, fibers for twine, brushing sticks, bowls, mortar and pestle used for processing and preserving the grains, and prepared by women by material collection for forest for use at home and sale at market. Small-scale forest-based enterprises such as the collection and processing of raw materials used in useful products are a minor source of income for tribal women. They use canes for marketing furnitures, fibers for net, ropes for mat, bamboo for basketry, gums for resin, and tender leaves for making beadi. Women collect the beads for necklaces, flowers for decorating hair born from forest. Ayerson found that in Laos, women in the Bolikamasai province gather or hunt 141 different forest products, including food plants, medicinal products, household items, and small animals for domestic consumption and sale. I have not calculated each of the item of minor forest produce used in the tribal community, but I feel it may cross the number stated by Ayerson. For collecting these forest products, women have to cover 3 to 11 kilometers a day. Tribal women who provide a major contribution to the family economy through agriculture and minor forest produce are now overburdened as deforestation has made them to cover more distances to meet their needs. That was an easy task for them in the past. Again, restriction from side of the government to protect has introduced a lot of law that sometimes restricts them to follow the age-old pattern, whatever it may be. The law at its part and the invisible contribution of women to the tribal economy that cannot be overlooked as portrayed in their work, a duty for family maintenance. The foregoing analysis shows a clear picture of the contribution of tribal women to the household economy. One may at the outset feel that issues like rest, leisure, or holidays have no meaning for tribal women. But any discussion on women in general and working women in particular is likely to be left incomplete if an important question like leisure time is not raised or answered. Work and leisure are the two aspects of human life which is found among all kind of women, and among tribal women in the form of dwelling at home, farm, forest, site, and leisure when they only sleep. Now let me discuss about how they learn the skill to work. Whenever a reference to work is given, there is a question arising: how women learn these skills? And the answer is that the environment in which they grow gives them the opportunity to learn themselves in the process of doing these works. Though there is lack of formal education to learn the skill to work, in a tribal society, a woman's education is a lifelong learning. It is a lifelong process by which every female, starting from childhood till old age, acquires and accumulates knowledge, skills, attitudes, and insights from daily experiences and exposure to the environment. Continuous learning is enforced through stories, songs, observation, social interaction, speech and conduct towards elder. They transmit knowledge and social customs and define relationships and belongings in the society. Here, the lines written by Risman very well fits into the Juang tribal women, where he says, learning the skill to work where he quotes proverbs are one means of sharpening adult consciousness and of fixing in memory the truths that seems necessary for social life. The traditional attitude of the tribal very well mesh with their economic activities. The division of labor between men and women makes their knowledge base gender specific according to their roles as perceived with responsibilities. Understanding the indigenous knowledge system is key to the understanding skill that acquisition among women in the tribal social structure. This is because there is transfer of skill from the household and culture to work. Skill acquisition integrates with household relations. The idea of education in the tribal tradition cannot be separated from that of learning. Women learn by their socialization process from key figures in their lives. Who are they? Mother, aunt, or any other older family relative. And through the long-standing traditional apprenticeship system in the tribal social structure. All of these are embedded in the everyday life of their society. The system itself teaches both specific skills for social behavior and working ability. It provides internal structure for ways of knowing and a means to transfer that knowledge. No specialized training course is needed for a tribal woman to learn the household and extra household activities. She learns by visualizing and accompanying her elders doing those activities. It is always associated with the environment where the girl is brought up. Taking care of the younger brothers and sisters, works related to agricultural operation, washing clothes and fetching water, cleaning the utensils, all become a daily schedule of activities as a girl grows up in the tribal social structure. Thus, she experiences of doing all the household and farm activities before marriage that continues as a routine work after her marriage. Social inclusion of tribal women refers to the extent that women as individuals, family and community are to fully participate in the household, social course and control their own destinies. And here a specific reference is given to their relevant contribution in the sphere of economy that is going unrecognized, but that determines a very good integral status of tribal woman in her society, where she has a power of decision making in her own society related to economic factors. Dear friends, there is a need for proper understanding of their problem specific to the time and place, so that relevant development programs can be made and implemented. We need to create legal, regulatory and policy frameworks that promotes social inclusion and inclusive growth of tribal women is success. Thank you.